Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Extinction for the PlayStation 4. This title was sent to me by Iron Galaxy so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. Now, for those of you that haven't been following Extinction, this consists of a game where you get to chop up orcs, chop off their limbs, and eventually even lop off their heads, which is something that I find pretty damn satisfying. Anything that involves the mindless slaughter of greenskins is something that I can get behind because, as a dwarf, I hate orcs, okay? So deal with it. Anyway, I finally got to play it, and I do have to say it's been a bit of a bittersweet experience. But before we get to all of the mechanics and how I feel about this title, let's talk about the concept of the game, because this is a concept that I really like. So essentially, the orcs are this race called the Rurikhan. They look just like orcs. They differ in colors. Sometimes they're purple, sometimes they're white, sometimes they're red, but essentially they're just big, meaty orcs. And when I say big, I'm talking like Attack on Titan sizes. These are some really big enemies in comparison to your dude, which is just a regular humanoid character. So these Rurikhan are attacking humanity. I haven't really gotten to a point in the story where I've discovered why. It's just right now they're just a threat. They're just constantly attacking us, and therefore we kind of have to fight back. And naturally, your character is the only one who can stop them. He is a sentinel, and he has like special training that enables him to do all of these crazy acrobatic feats, which naturally is how you go around chopping them down. Now, our objective throughout most of the game is going to be to defend cities from the Rurikhan. As a matter of fact, there's even quite a few procedural missions where I will get to, but essentially the game's premise is you chopping down these big orcs. There's multiple ways in how you can do this. You are going to also be doing a couple of side things like saving villagers and killing jackals, but eventually your ultimate objective is going to be to dismember the big orcs, charge up your rune strike, which is like a special attack that you can perform with your sword, and then lop the orc's head off. So the important thing here is pretty much most of the actions that you perform throughout a level charges up something which is your rune strike. You have like a rune gauge, which if you guys look to the bottom left hand side, you will see that there's a red gauge, that is your health. Then there is a yellow gauge that is kind of like your rune gauge, and once you fill that up, you basically have something called the kill strike. Once you have a kill strike, you can go up to a Rurikhan's neck and chop his head off. Now, in order to generate runic power that charges up this kill strike of yours, you're going to have to save villagers, and you're going to have to kill jackals. Now, one of the problems that I instantly have with this particular mechanic is that villagers are dying left and right, like all the time, non-stop, throughout every single mission. So if you're like me, who I happen to be a bit of a completionist, I'm always thinking, oh, I gotta go save these villagers, and I gotta go save these villagers. It's impossible to save them all. As a matter of fact, after about 20 to 30 minutes with this game, you're going to start looking at villagers as essentially fuel for your sword. As a matter of fact, if you see like a group of villagers that is waiting to be saved, and you're trying to go there to save them, and you notice, oh, there's actually already 3 jackals on top of them, forget about them. They're gonna die. Doesn't matter what you do, it's almost impossible for you to save them, and you're going to risk yourself actually dying in order to save them. And trust me, even if they die, there's plenty of more villagers for you to save, which it kind of sucks saying that, but that's kind of how the game makes me feel. Essentially, these villagers are there to power up my sword. That is their single purpose in life, except on certain missions where your whole objective is to actually save villagers, because they will do like certain variations on missions, and there will be certain missions that's like, you don't even have to kill Rurikhan on these missions, you just have to go ahead and save villagers. On other missions, you'll just have to go ahead and kill jackals. So there you go. Now, previously I mentioned that some of these missions are going to be procedurally generated. And I mean, in a way, I like the fact that that's the way it goes, because it naturally adds to some replayability. You playing through the same mission twice is going to be somewhat different. Depending on a mission, some of those missions are actually manually created to kind of give you a specific objective, but a lot of these missions are actually procedurally generated. That means that the variations of Rurikhan that show up are going to be different. And the thing about the variations is that they're going to have different types of armor. And when they have different types of armor, you have to apply different strategies in order to remove that armor so that you can then chop off their limbs. And the problem with this is that sometimes you get combinations that pretty much feel unfair. Like, there's a type of armor which is bright steel, and pretty much you can, at least at the point in the story that I'm in, you cannot break bright steel. I'm not sure if that is something that maybe after you complete the story mode, because I'm constantly getting new skills and stuff, maybe they will give you a skill that allows you to break bright steel. But at the point that I'm at the story right now, I cannot break bright steel. It is simply impossible. So sometimes I will get a Reveni, which has bright steel armor on his legs. Now the problem with that is that if I can't chop his legs, it means I have to figure out some kind of way of climbing it. And climbing the Reveni feels ridiculous. Like, there's just no way for me to reliably climb a Reveni while he's standing up, which is why it's so important for me to be able to break the armor on their feet so that I can chop their legs, because that brings them down and it makes them easier to climb. However, if they're constantly upright, climbing all the way up there is near impossible. Now, usually when you have these Reveni that have the bright steel legs, they will usually have golden armor pieces, and this is like something that seems very deliberate, because the golden armor pieces are supposed to have these parts that you can grapple onto using your whip. The problem is, it seems completely unreliable whether I'm able to use the whip to climb up to them or not. A lot of the times I will just aim my camera upwards, and I will just start spamming R1 trying to get the whip to latch onto his hands so that I can actually climb up there to get the killing blow. And 9 times out of 10, it will not work. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And then it's like, okay, so I can try climbing up through his legs. The problem is if he's moving, climbing up through his legs, your character is constantly falling down. It's damn near impossible. So it just feels too glitchy. And I'm not sure if that is me sucking at the game, because it is possible. But I can't tell you guys, because right now there's no other medium for me to watch because the game's still in embargo as I'm recording this video. But I'm very curious to see what's going to happen come the embargo time, because I want to see what other people are saying, specifically in regards to orcs that have bright steel legs, because I just can't climb up there to get a killing blow. Now, I have killed a couple of them. Sometimes I'll be able to climb up buildings and then somehow manage to climb my way up to their heads and kill them. But that's the other problem, because like they can break buildings down, so climbing buildings is completely unreliable in order to get those particular Reveni. And I don't want to harp too long on that particular combination. Let's just say that a lot of the combat, a lot of times, it feels like the game demands a certain degree of precision from you, and then it doesn't deliver that precision with the combat mechanics. And that is something that really, really frustrated me, because like, if an orc has some of the weaker armor, dude, I can chop off his legs, chop off his arms, chop off his friggin' shoulder blades, chop off his helmet, without even landing, without even stopping on the ground. I can do that, because if it's got weak armor, I can just jump from armor piece to armor piece, chop off all the limbs, and then instantly get a killing strike. No problem. So I kind of feel like I kind of have a grasp on how the game works. It's just some of these armor pieces feel ridiculous. Now, the armor pieces also give you a bit of variety in how you can tackle each of the challenges, because some of those armor pieces will be like bone armor pieces. Those you have to wait until the skulls that have a flame stop having the flame there, so you have to kind of force the monster to do a special attack, and then you break off that piece of armor, then you can chop off his limbs, continue going that way. But the other thing that happens is like, if you get one of those crazy combinations that I was talking about with the bright steel legs, there's this percentage on the top right hand side of your screen, which is your extinction meter, and that is constantly ticking down, because that is measuring how much damage a Reveni is doing to your city. And if you're glitching yourself out trying to kill this Reveni and you're unable to do it super fast, he's going to tear down through the whole city before you even have time to kill him. And that's another thing. There is a constant sense of urgency in every single mission. Every mission is a complete race against time. And it's like, I'm okay with having some missions being that, but can we have some missions that are a little bit more relaxed? No, it's just like everything is happening boom, 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 non-stop. You got 5 minutes to finish this mission. In 5 minutes, you got to kill these 4 Reveni. And if they got shitty armor combinations, too bad. As a matter of fact, that's another interesting thing, because since stuff is procedurally generated, I've had missions where I was completely annihilated in my first attempt, and then instantly breezed through the mission because the next combination that they gave me of Reveni was way easier. It didn't have any of the crazy armor combinations that are somewhat challenging to fight. And it feels a little bit too random. And on top of it, it also starts feeling quite a bit repetitive. Because, right, I mean, your whole purpose is to kill orcs. And I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. But every mission is this constant time pressure affair where there's just things happening all the time. Reveni showing up non-stop, destroying the city non-stop. And ultimately, every mission boils down to the same thing. Like, do something, and then eventually kill this Reveni. Do something else, and then eventually kill this Reveni. I mean, at this point, I'm about 6 hours into the game, and there's only been one mission whose main objective was not to kill the Reveni. And even in that mission, at the very end of it, a Reveni showed up, which I had to go ahead and kill. Although I do have to say, maybe that hasn't necessarily been a bad thing, because on that specific mission, which the main objective was to navigate this map that was chock full of spikes, I was so frustrated because navigating the world of Extinction with relative precision using the character movement in the game is nothing short of a bit of a nightmare. Because your character, they tried doing this thing where your character moves super fast. He's able to bounce off of trees, bounce off of rooftops, grapple onto just about everything, and use his whip to navigate stuff super fast. And you guys are like, okay, so that's really cool. Your character moves really fast. That's good. Well, when you try to do precision movement where there's spikes that will instantly kill you below you, it's insane. Because, like, everything where you don't do the pitch perfect input, my character would just like fall down and die, and I was like, no, not again. And it would start me off at the very beginning of the level and force me to do a whole bunch of platforming, and I was like, dude, this game is just not made for this kind of crazy platforming. I don't know what you guys were thinking. And I know that right now it seems like I'm being really negative, and here's the thing. I need to kind of offset that a little bit with some balance, because this is a game that I want to like. That's the thing, right? Because I like the concept. I like how the game works once it's working well. You know, when things aren't glitching and your character actually works fine, chopping down the Reveni is really cool. Like I said, I can start doing my rune strikes. I can cut away the armor on the legs, cut away the armor on the arms, chop off the legs, chop off the arms. Feels great. By the way, those arms and legs, they regenerate, so it's just like a temporary thing, which is why it reminds me a lot of Attack on Titan, because like Titans also regenerate pretty fast. But it's like that the flow of the combat, when it works, it feels great, because you're chopping off his legs, then you're climbing off the top of his back, and it feels great because your character is like this tiny character climbing this big monster, right? And you're gonna go up all the way to the top, rip off his helmet, and then chop his neck, and that is great when it works. The problem is that when it doesn't work and it starts feeling glitchy, it makes you super frustrated. And I think a lot of that is coming through, in my opinion, of the game, because like a lot of the times I will be, for instance, chopping up a leg, and then suddenly while I'm in the middle of the animation, because you slow down time whenever you do your runic strikes, so I slow down time and the camera pans to the inside of the other leg of the Reveni, therefore preventing me from actually seeing what the hell I'm aiming for. And I'm just like, no, I need to cut the leg, and I can't cut it. It doesn't let me cut because I can't actually see my target. So that's one of the glitches. Another one of the glitches is that a lot of the times you will have the Reveni that have locks in the front of their helmet. So you have to climb all the way up, and then you have to manage to jump in a way that allows you to turn around mid-air and slow down time in order to perform the perfect rune strike. And it just seems like the game's systems don't really allow you to do moves like that with any degree of precision. Again, we come back to the precision thing. The game expects you to be very precise where you are aiming your attacks. And if you're not absolutely 100% precise at hitting a certain target, like a lock on a piece of armor, or a piece of armor while the Reveni is attacking, the game is going to punish you for it. Sometimes even I will be hit by Reveni that I can't see because they're out of my line of vision, but yet they have enough reach to kill me from like 2 miles away. So all of a sudden I will be doing something and I just hear like black, and my character is dead, splattered. Like, they will one-shot you. They have no problem in one-shotting you, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I would at least like to kind of see the attack coming. Other times, for instance, I will see the attack coming and I will start spamming dodge and I will still die because, again, it feels like it lacks the precision that it demands from you. And that's kind of like one of the biggest problems that I have with it, because like, I like the concept, I like the gameplay when it's working, but I feel that it needs more polish. Another example of something that happens, for instance, is like, I perform an attack, right, to like get me into a certain position in the monster. And then the monster puts one of his hands down on the ground because maybe he's sitting down because I chopped his legs or something. And then suddenly some of these pieces of armor will have locks that you have to break. But because of the position that the monster has his hands, the lock is literally clipping inside his hand, and there's no way for me to target that lock, therefore completely preventing me from chopping down that piece of armor and chopping out his arm. And now you guys are saying, why do you go for the arms then? Just go for the neck, you know, when we have that problem. The problem is that you need to fill out your rune strikes, and since the Reveni, they show up so fast, every time that you kill a Reveni, you completely expend your rune gauge, and you have to fill it up all over again, whether that is by saving villagers, or killing some of the lesser minions, the jackals, or chopping down limbs. And in my case, a lot of the times, like if there's one Reveni that is destroying the city, my choice is going to be go for that Reveni, chop off his legs so that you can limit the damage that he's doing to the city. So I've actually had situations where it's like, well, my rune strike is not full, but I don't want to let this Reveni destroy the city anymore, so I just stay there and I camp them out. And it actually feels pretty sadistic, because like I will stay there and I will repeatedly chop down his legs to prevent him from getting back up. Like, he will be on the verge of getting back up and I'll get down there again and I'll chop his legs again until my rune strike fills up, at which point I will climb up to his head and then kill him. Now, I mentioned that you can also fight the Jackal, which are the smaller type minions. There's a couple of variety of enemies there that you can attack and you can kill them. But I gotta tell you, I think that killing the actual Reveni, so the big dudes, is actually a lot easier than killing these smaller dudes, because they sometimes feel so tanky, and it's inconsistent, because like sometimes I'll be able to kill them really fast, and whereas other times I'll be trying to kill the exact same monster and he simply will not die. I don't know why that is. It feels really weird. And then it also feels weird because you figured, oh, I see these villagers, they're getting attacked, I should go and save them, right? That's like your first instinct, is to go and save the villagers. But it's like your fastest way of saving villagers is actually just running there, spamming the save button, not even trying to fight the creatures that are attacking them, because fighting them is just going to take way too long. So you're just going to end up saving the villagers to power up your sword so that you can go ahead and kill Reveni. Now, there's multiple gameplay modes that you have. You have this Extinction mode, which is kind of like a Horde mode where you just fight Reveni until you die. There is a Skirmish mode that just gives you randomly generated objectives and randomly generated maps. And it doesn't feel particularly different from the main campaign, if I'm to be completely honest. Like, some of the actual missions in the main campaign are also procedurally generated with randomly selected bonus objectives. You even see those objectives rolling down like a slot machine, and you're just like, okay, the random objective this time around is chop a Reveni's limbs off, or something like that, or kill all standing Reveni whilst saving 15 villagers, or something like that. So there's a lot of procedural generation to the game. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It does give you some replayability. As a matter of fact, there's even the daily challenges that you can do in the game, which consists of like a mission that you can only do once, and then it will have an objective, and for you to try and do as much score as possible by saving villagers and chopping off limbs from Reveni. And if you guys have heard me talk a lot about Reveni and jackals and saving villagers, that is because that is all the things that I have done in my 6 hours with the game. You see, because here's the thing, where I really like the concept of the game, and when it works, it is a lot of fun. Ultimately, it is also extremely frustrating when you feel like you're inputting and doing everything right, and the game still punishes and kills you, and you're just like, why? Why? Or whenever you get one of those combinations that I said of having a Reveni with 2 bright steel pieces in his legs, and you're trying to climb up, and the whip is not working for whatever reason, and there's no buildings around, and you're just left looking at this orc without being able to actually do anything to stop it. I don't know. It feels very weird to me, and I didn't want this video to be as negative as it is, but it's just I want to like the game so much that I really would like to see the developers take this criticism and improve the game and make it better, because I think there is potential in this game, but it almost feels like it was rushed. And in terms of the story has not really gotten me by any stretch. It's like, hey, there's Reveni. They're killing humans. We got to kill them before they kill us. And that's pretty much what the story has been like. They just rush you off from city to city where you perform the same task of killing Reveni, killing jackals, and saving villagers in randomly generated maps. And that's what you do throughout the story. The difference from story mode from all the other procedurally generated modes is that there will be on the lower left-hand side a couple of artwork from characters and a little bit of dialogue. The dialogue is fully voice acted. The voice acting is nothing really to scream home about. It's okay. But the story itself, it has not grabbed me at all. As a matter of fact, on some of the recent missions, I've just been like, dude, I don't even want to hear you speak. I already know that all I have to do is go kill Reveni. Why do I have to listen to you talk? It's like, you know, that's where it's gotten. And it's very rare that a game gets me to that point. You know, usually I will watch the story just for learning the story. And in this case, I'm just like, there are a couple of animated cutscenes in between some of the chapters of the game. When those cutscenes are actually pretty well animated, I kind of like watching those. Those are pretty cool. But other than that, the campaign mode didn't even grab me all that much. As a matter of fact, I found myself having to take a lot of breaks because of the repetitive nature of the game and the fact that a lot of the times the mechanics don't work like they should. And I would just get frustrated and I'd be like, well, I need to take a break before I throw my controller out the window. Anyway, that's all I have. What do you guys think about Extinction? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed my videos, remember, subscribe, and hit the notification icon, all that stuff. And I will see you guys in the next one.